folks. This is our third episode of our podcast, and we are glad you're here. My name is Roz. This is my wife, Vilma,
Vilma.
and we're glad you're here tuning in. And also press that button, like, and also subscribe. You will be helping us a lot. So we want to hear from you. If you have any comments, if you heard something you never heard before, you want to talk about it, we will be glad to interact with you. So this is what we want. We want you to be participants in this. We're just doing these first episodes that talks about mainly about us. And today we're going to focus on the recuperation as I left off from the heart surgery, the triple bypass last episode. So today we're going to elaborate a little bit more about the recuperation and the caretaking and the all the issues that are involving financially, logistically, and physically, what entails to go through all of this. So definitely it's a hard recuperation. It's about 6 months, and of course the first month is the hardest, and my wife is here to elaborate a little bit more what entails to be a caregiver at that situation.
Yes, from that point of view, one of the things that I did preparing for this, number one, we never knew that his recuperation was going to take 6 months. So that took us back because we have been taught that prepare for stormy days for 3 months. And we were prepared for 3 months, but we were not prepared for 6 months. So a caregiver, before I left the hospital and you see the surgery and what entails, you get very concerned because in the hospital, they know what they're doing. But when you bring the patient home, you have to make sure those days at the hospital, you are investing them, not wasting them. And you need to ask questions before you come home. And that's what I did. So he had this precious girl that came into the room, and she was the one who was helping him shower and doing all these things. And I know that one day I must have spooked her out because I chased her and I says, listen, I need to talk to you before we go home. Please teach me when we go home how I have to give him a shower. And of course, I don't think many people ask that. And she was kind of like, what? But yes, the next day, she gave me the special instructions how to care, because when the doctor told me when he goes home, he cannot stretch his arms because he's not, this might sound ridiculous.
I could not pull myself up because they were open,
One,
and I had to have help do like this and be pulled up.
because he was glue on.
Yeah.
And I was like, when you don't know about medicine and they tell you, when he goes home, you have to be extra careful with him because we just glue him as we close him, and you look at the doctor and go, what do you mean? What is this? And all you know is Elmo glue. So this is not making any sense. Anyways, to make a long story short, she was kind enough to show me so he would not get infection. Then thank God that I was watching some other programs about surgery, and they said that when you have surgery like that, you should have eat a lot of pineapple because he helps with inflammation. So we were surrounded by amazing friends, and they were asking me, what do you need? And I told my brother, I says, my God, we prepared for 3 months and it's 6 months. And he says, what do you need? Actually, his wife. He goes, what do you need? And I go, we need insurance for 3 months. And he goes, and what are you going to do after that? And I says, I don't know. So he goes, okay.
I mean, we had insurance. We just
we
need to
did
keep up the
payments, right? So he stepped up, him and his wife. And then I have a friend who's a social worker, and she says, you're going to have to get in disability. And I go, oh, how do you do that? Because we don't know what disability is. So she gets online and find out that in the state of Florida, if you hear this or anybody knows the governor, I had no idea that in Florida, the doctor has to say that you are going to be disabled for a year. You don't get any type of help. So we were freaking out, and now we got more concerned. So another friend called. My brother asked for prayer, and he posted it on Facebook. And this precious friend of mine called us, and she showed, actually, her and her husband showed up at the hospital. And she says, "What do you need?" And we go, "Well, if we don't want to, you know, finish the money that we have, I think the electricity." She goes, "I'll pay you for 3 months, and you had the other three to carry you through." And that was so precious. Then we have another friend that makes sure that I had a great supply of pineapples. His church pulled together and also gave us a donation.
Yeah, I worked in that church, and
Yes.
they did at that time a garage sale,
Oh, yes.
and they would give out
To
and
somebody.
to somebody in
the
the
community.
in the community that was in need. And there was another person who had a motorcycle accident, and the proceeds they had, they would get the community. So you pay for a spot for their garage sale, and you put your stuff to sell, and whatever proceeds they make, they will give out to needy people in the community. So I was one of the beneficiary, and it was $1,000 they gave us. And man, because I work in that church, I did some remodeling, and they just
So then, after that, I had, listen, caregivers, don't play superhero.
yeah.
Don't do it. You're gonna get burnout, and 6 months is a long time. And I have precious friends, that are older, and by the grace of God, they don't have to run to work, so they will call me and say, "Hey, what do you want me to come over so I could wash over him, and you could take a shower," And it's like, "Yes, thank you." I had a friend who's a hairdresser who came to the house just to do my hair. She goes, "I know that you need some kind of a break," and I mean, don't be embarrassed to ask for help, because when people come around you and they said, "How can I help you?" and you go, "Oh, I'm okay," they feel hopeless. And I didn't even realize that. I was just being honest, and they realized I was. And it was 6 months that they were such an uncertainty, and it was scary.
We thank you so much. God bless you.
Yeah.
You guys will never be forgotten. So
Never.
much so, because 11 years we're still talking about
Yeah.
you, and we were really, really thankful. We are really thankful for what you have done, and I pray that God multiplies you a
Yes.
thousandfold
Yes.
for what you have done.
Yeah.
We had such a great, wonderful friend.
Oh my gosh, it was like, you have angels on earth.
Like that saying, I think, it takes a neighborhood or tribe to raise a child or something like
Yeah, I
that.
don't like that, but
But it took a neighborhood, friends to help us to go through this, and we really saw the hand of God
that
in
is,
a moment like this, and we appreciate all these folks. You know who you are.
you know who you are.
You know who you are.
And the reason why we're not mentioning your names is
Because
not,
we haven't asked you for permission.
not and number two, we don't want nobody to abuse you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the Lord moves on your heart to do something for somebody, and nobody's supposed to know. And then when they see that, then they think you're an ATM machine. So we want to protect you from that, because God moved upon your hearts to do all those things. And I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And moving forward, then our house got in jeopardy. And that's another story. We're not going to share that, because this is exactly what was taking a toll on my husband as well. And all I got to tell you is, as a caregiver, as a wife, as a believer, that God works in mysterious ways. And one of the things that we learned in that visitation that we haven't shared with you was, my husband has an uncle that he was very young, and he never got to walk his daughter down the aisle, because he did had a heart attack, and he died in the way to the hospital. So we were already feeling kind of concerned, because that could happen, that could happen to anybody. So while we were still in the hospital, Dr. Chopin came in, and he's very articulate. And he came in the room and he said to us, you know, this is something the textbooks don't talk about. Do you know that you are alive because your body made its own bypass? And of course, we don't know anything about science, but this is his lane. This is what he knows. And I just asked him, please explain to us. And he was able to tell me and my husband when we met again 11 years later, because finally the insurance, we always wanted to go back to him. We knew that he was a little angel that got sent in our path, and we knew that we needed to get a hold of him. So one day, being that my husband was not having a good cardiologist, and he was ignoring certain things, and we were not happy, and you know when
But that was recently.
this is this is
But I want to make a parenthesis
Sure.
here for him. He was such a doctor. That's why we like him, Dr.
Oh.
Chopin. We asked him to be on camera, but he doesn't want to be here, and I don't blame him. But I want to say something about him.
yeah.
We had insurance because he came through the hospital. He didn't come through us, our insurance, and he didn't carry our insurance at that time. But he said, once you get out of here, I want to see you. You don't have to pay me. I'm not gonna get paid, but I want to see you afterwards. So he gave us one time, follow up to go and see him in his office, and he was awesome. And we appreciate him not only for being a doctor, but to be a human being and looking at us with compassion. So, we're blessed to have that. And also, I want to go back to a little bit about, the surgery. It's very, very humbling for a man to be in that position, because you feel like you can't get up for about a month. You can't clean your behind. Somebody else has to do that for you. And look at this person here. She did all of that, and some nurses also did that. So I am very thankful to have somebody as a caregiver that I call my wife, and I appreciate that. And also they had some drain pipes coming out of wood boxes that are coming out of my belly, because it takes a while until that heals inside, and if you leave the belly closed, it's going to blow up. So all that fluid has to drain out, and that is painful when they pull that thing out of you. Then I don't only had one, I had about 3 or 4. So if you have to go through this, I know these details, you don't think about it, and you probably never will, and you never should. But I'm just giving you what my take or what happened and what I remember going through all of this. But most of all is the care of the people in the hospital and the surgeons and everybody that was part of this. And I tell you, after that, I had the best 5 years of my life. That surgery really was awesome. I could go back to work, and after 5 months, I could not lift up weight or anything. And I do work with heavy stuff, heavy equipment and materials. But we were really blessed after that. And then after 5-6 years, something else happened, and we're gonna elaborate on that in the next episode.
No,
So-
actually, this is that episode that you're going to talk about this now,
No.
because
Are you following me, or what exactly are you thinking about?
how you end up in the list now for
No, I
transplant.
think that's we prepare ourselves. What happened is end up happening about 5 or 6 years. I started feeling bad again, and they did a catheter, and I went to the hospital.
I'm the one always wanted to shut the video up.
But now.
Now,
But anyways.
we need to tell you this.
Yeah, so I had a catheter, and they just didn't the sound. The gardener's outside cutting the grass. But what was I talking? Oh,
What
yeah,
happened?
they did a catheter, and they end up being that they went in and
Was this
everything.
5 years later?
No, it was 2018, so it's about 6, 7 years later.
7 years later.
I don't remember if I did another one, but I did so many catheters that I close to 10 right now at this point. But then, because they had given me prior to that, they have given me a medication called Brilinta, that is for a blood thinner, I believe. And they realized that the doctor at that time, he just said, "There's nothing wrong. The arteries are fine." And it's probably the medication that is causing the symptoms that you have right now. So they took it off, and so on and so forth. And moving forward, last year, in 2025, I was feeling bad again. And I was with another doctor, not Dr. Chopin, and I did all, he said, okay, let's do the stress test, which I had done before. But at this point, I could not even run. I had to do the stress test with the chemicals and go into the machine and do all kinds of ultrasound and EKG and all that stuff. And long story short, he said that it was fine. The blood was going through, and because that's what they want to see, if the blood is circulating. And it was, and he said, you're fine. So a couple of weeks afterwards, let's say move forward, this was like in January or February of 2025, and I moved forward, moving forward a couple of weeks after that, and I called him again and said, Doc, I am feeling bad. I don't know what to say. You tell me I'm okay, but I'm not. So then they started to proceed, and finally he said, okay, let's do a catheter again. So we scheduled one for, I think, May, and I had to wait all that time. But 2 weeks prior to that, I didn't make it. I was with so much pain that I end up in an emergency room. And being there, I told them exactly what was happening, and that time they took me in, and a couple of days, and did the catheter, and the doctor said, oh, I only could put one stent or balloon, whatever they did that time. But I had to do some more work, but I couldn't do it right now because it was too long, and you shouldn't be under all this medication that we put in. It's not good for you. So keep that appointment, whenever that will be, 2 weeks, come back. And I did it again with another doctor, but that time I left the hospital the same way I went in. I wasn't feeling any different, and he had this weird pain on my right hand side below my rib cage. So nobody else told me that could have been something else. But long story short, I went for the second time. The doctor was great. I did an outpatient, and they took care of it. I got out of there pretty soon, and the same day went home, felt the same way. This is back in June last year, about a year ago. And moving forward, I kept feeling bad, and I said, well, I don't know what's going on. And about November, I was, doing some work, and I really felt really bad. And there was an issue also, an extra issue, which was I had diverticulitis on my colon because of my medication that I'm taking, and that was a side effect. It was taken care of, but still I had this pain on my right hand side. So we were gonna change doctors because the other cardiologist I had, he was not too happy with me because he said, oh, I'm taking your medication or whatever. And then finally he just wrote me a letter, said, I'm not going to be your doctor no more. And to be honest with you, I was not too happy with him before, so he just decided that I was not going to be his patient. And I had to wait from November, December, the holidays, until I could get another doctor in January, the appointment they had for the 25th of January. And then I told them, if you have an opening before with Dr. Chopin again, because I changed insurance and they were accepting me. So finally they called me. I think they put me in like early January. He did all the tests again, the stress test and everything. And he realized, well, there's not much we can do, but we can do one thing. Let's do a catheter again. So we scheduled one. I went to another doctor and spoke with him, had an appointment, and he said, let's do this. We can do it. He looked and I said, you sure? Because they have done some work and nothing has changed. He said, yeah, we need to go a little further here. He showed me the picture and the screen, and we can do that. And also he said, we have a new product that a new kind of balloon that has some medication that is on trial right now. It's not approved by FDA, but it's been approved in Europe and has good reputation, blah, 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 blah.
What was it called?
Magic balloon.
The magic balloon. And we learned something about it. The stents is like a little metal.
Yeah.
And these balloons, if you are a recipient of them, it sounds like it's better because it's not a metal inside of you. Stents are metals inside of you.
I have both.
We didn't have no idea about that.
I have both. So
we
anyways, they said, we'll sign you up, and I signed up. They will follow up with you to see how you're doing for a year, and because they have to do that, you're going to be on trial. Basically, I'm a guinea pig. So anyways, I signed up, and they said, we're going to go in, and if we can put it in, we put that one in. If not, I think that we can put the ones approved, we do that, but they couldn't do either or. I came out of there really quick, and he just came out and told us that nothing could have been done because there's no way he could go in like that first time when I had my first heart attack. But they can also not do heart surgery again. And here it is. I also called my friend, the plumber, remember? In the other episode? That he told me, we talk every now and then, he told me that he had done the surgery second time. So I was hopeful, and I said, wow, I can do the surgery again. That would be awesome. So I contacted the head surgeon, thoracic surgeon here at the Baptist Hospital.
And what is unique about him? Because thanks to Tom, we found this out. We never heard that you can have surgery for your heart through the side instead of going through the front.
Yeah, they don't cut your sternum anymore. But my friend, because he had surgery before, they had to go through here for some reason. They could not do the side one. That takes less recuperation. Nowadays, they're doing all of.
What is the name of this doctor?
Dr. McGinn.
Okay, so for those of you, God forbid, you need it, and you don't want it, trust me. 11 years ago, I was there. If you have to have surgery, look him up, or a doctor that can do that already is very good about it, because science is always evolving. And to know that, when we heard that, we were like, wow.
To you to have an idea, my friend Tom, the plumber, he had his leg cut open from his foot all the way to his groin to take out of his vein. And he had this thing wrapped around here. At one point afterwards, he had about 26 stents put in that vein.
He held the record, I think.
I think, yeah, he was the record
He
holder.
holds the record.
But, in my time, they took it out from my groin to my knee, and I only have a little cut on my knee and my groin.
But not good circulation.
Yeah. Of course, it affects the circulation.
It
but,
affects.
You put it here in your heart where it matters. But also, when you're doing a bypass, it's like, I look at it, if you were a plumber, you have a 3-inch pipe, and that is an artery. And a vein is about 2-inch artery. I'm not saying that it is like that, but for you to have a visual.
Correct him, doctors out there, if we're wrong in the comments.
Yeah, but the artery are stronger and wider, and the veins are thinner. So that's what you're doing. You're using a 2-inch pipe to do a job of a 3-inch pipe. So you lose some pressure there. If you, a man, you might understand this better. But anyways, so this is what, how things have evolved. When I did my surgery, they cut me open the sternum, but now they do it through the
amazing
through your ribs.
Wow.
I don't know how they do it, but that's how they do it, and that's been already done many times, and the recuperation is only a few months, and you don't have to be 6 months without working or doing anything heavy. So then moving forward on this, then and I did all this, and I talked to when they told me they couldn't do more stents or anything, so I jumped the gun because of my friend. He said, "No, just talk to him again. He did my surgery. Just go get his opinion. Don't believe these guys and whatever." So yeah, which is fine. I got the second opinion. I set up an appointment. They gave it to me. I was surprised, and Dr. McGinn just looked at me and said, "I love to do surgery. I do this well. I'm a very experienced person, and this is my field, and I am very good at it. But there's always, out of 100, have to tell one that I cannot do your surgery." And he just said, "It's sad, but I can't because it's too complicated, and your arteries are too thin, too plugged up, and there's no way to mount, do the grafting around that." So I was disappointed, but he asked me something. It's like, "What kind of pain you having?" Because my cardiologist by then had given me pain killers, because I begged of him. I said, "I can't sleep." I was not able to sleep flat in bed. I had to sit up, and was not able to sleep for more than 5 hours. I had so much pressure in my chest, and all of this was happening. But he asked a key question: "What kind of pain you having?" I said, "Well, angina pain. That's what, when you have heart problems. What would I know?" And then we came home, and then we were looking for another opinion for another doctor that I researched, but he's now in another town, and he was not taking my insurance. But anyway, so Dr. Chopin told me, "You're young enough, up to 70 years old, you can be in a heart transplant list." I was like, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, we can only manage your situation, but there's not much we can do. But you can. We don't do that in our system here in the Baptist Hospital. But you can go to Jackson Memorial, and there's two others, and I called Cleveland Clinic, but they don't accept my insurance. So Jackson did, and that's what what I'm working on right now. But at this point in time, when the Dr. McGinn told me about this pain, and I came home, and one time I was feeling, a few times I had this episode, this pain would come and go. And I said, if I really having a heart attack, this pain, I probably would have been dead.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that what Dr. McGinn told me about what kind of pain you're feeling. So it triggered me to go to YouTube, research it. And I learned that you can have pain from your gallbladder, which is called something. Forgive me, I don't have the name right now. I should have it. But it's a pain you have when you have gallbladder stones. So I listened to one doctor, and I said, I don't know these people, but they are saying they're doctors. Let me look for some more, and they all saying the same thing. And that exactly was my pain. I had this foul odor coming out of my mouth, and it was like a gushing, and it felt like really, really bad. And my wife, I would brush my teeth, and still was there.
I never smelled that in the 34 years that we've been married, and the burping, it was so odd. It was a dry, not a normal, and he couldn't help it. He had to do it. And this is a good point that you touching right now, because when you have been diagnosed to have something, it's like they put it all in that basket. There is no other organs, it seems to be, in your body, and they are
because cardiologists only think about the heart.
Thank God.
They don't think you have anything else.
But thanks to this doctor asking him exactly what was the pain, because now we have to split hairs here. We knew by the diagnosis of my husband that this is what really is the hardship that we have. His heart, his muscle are perfect. arteries are
Perfect
not.
for my age. I'm not.
Well, no, you haven't suffered damage to it. Some
Yeah.
people don't have that diagnosis.
Mhm.
And they look at it, and that's when, the doctors are like, it's your arteries, it's not your heart. So they did a test. And according to Dr. Chapin, they did some medication and some things because the pain was incredible. And listen, caregivers, I love you. I can relate to you because some people don't understand this. And if you have family or friends that love you around, listen up. I'm going to speak in behalf of the caregivers. When you have someone next to you that cannot sleep, and you know that they have a heart issue, neither can you. Because you can fall asleep because you're always wondering, what if I fall asleep too deep and he needs me to driving in to the emergency room? Which for me is the hardest thing if I had to do that in the night because my sight is not the same. So my blood pressure goes up, and so you have to be looking out for that person. So if you know somebody that's going through that, sometimes the old school things, when the old school people used to come around and say how you doing, and they would bring a dish, or they would bring what they call here in America, which I love, the care package. Sometimes that's all they need. They don't need you time. They just need a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of a care for the caregiver, because you're going through that. And I'm not marketing that, I'm just saying it's reality. Now the caregiver is having so much more details that sometimes you don't say in conversations because you are exhausted, or you forget, or you don't think it means anything. I'm having a hard time dealing with the fact that I hear these precious doctors that have earned my trust telling me his heart is perfect. So when they did that test, and because I always ask questions, they did that test to see why the pain was so great, because we didn't know about the gallbladder. We thought it was always the heart. So he goes, okay, let's do this test. They found out that his heart is working fine, but it's not pumping out. So you're supposed to pump out in a perfect circle. So one of his arteries is so clogged that it doesn't pump out. So that is what brings out the tiring, he can do many things.
Angina pain.
The angina pains.
But we're gonna stay here.
But this was more than angina pain.
Exactly. So this is the misdiagnosis, and the issues I had with my other doctor that I told about that he quit. I was feeling this pain since then, since 2025. It's been a year and something later that I should have been warned, or led into the direction of my gallbladder. I didn't know I was feeling this pain. I'm assuming it's my heart. So this goes out to you. If you have such an issue like this, heart issue,
pay attention.
And pay attention, because also what else can cause chest pain? That's your gallbladder. So we're going to talk about that next time.
How they find out.
No, and how I found out, because I told you already, I had to look for research, and how I had to beg the doctor in the ER to look elsewhere than my heart. So stay tuned. That's the next episode.
That will be episode 4.
Exactly.
And don't forget, who are we? Between the rock and the hard place.
You understanding a little bit now of our dilemma? Usually it's between the rock and the hard place, but it's both. Hard and a hard place. So. And
we know that we're not the only ones. There is many people out there. So the conversation starts here because somebody has to start a conversation. And to the next time, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. But just don't do that, because we just found out, these old folks just found out that part of the finances can come from YouTube. I have no idea. But it takes a little trick. Number 1, you have to like it. Number 2, you have to subscribe. Number 3, there is a bell. And you have to click on that bell. And that bell is going to give you choices. And you're going to choose all. So every time we put a video up, you're going to get heads up about it. So listen, be a little angel. Subscribe, like, and hit that bell. Until the next time.
And you don't know how much you're going to bless us by doing that, because we know you're listening and you're paying attention. So that means a lot to us. So
And I pray that
we're
it
doing
helps
this,
you.
like I told in the beginning, we want you to be part of it. And like I said, if you have any idea of any other, before we're gonna end up telling our stories and where we're at right now. Of course, we're gonna follow up on the new
The potentials of the transplant.
transplant, heart transplant.
What
That's
entails.
something that is new to me, to us, and we're thankful that it's available. And we're just going to where it leads, and we pray that hopefully I'm healed. But if I'm not, then we're just gonna follow through. And thank you for all the things that are available to us. So stay tuned, and next time we're gonna speak about the gallbladder,
And
the intruder, and all of this issues.
that's a good name. So, interesting enough, I hope any of this would explain something to you, it help you to look at things in a different light. Till next time, take care and goodbye.
Hey folks, Mother's Day is coming, and we have 2 great ideas of a gift to give it to her. Just watch the clips after me, and you will have more information about it. How can you give her this wonderful gifts? Thank you.
Welcome to your perfect South Florida getaway, a charming Spanish colonial home designed for comfort, relaxation, and adventure. This beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath home features a full kitchen, spacious living areas, and a large patio, perfect for lounging under the Florida sun, with plenty of space to bring your boat. Love the ocean? 2 marinas are just 20 to 25 minutes away, perfect for deep-sea fishing and water adventures. You'll be minutes from world-famous destinations like Everglades National Park, Biscayne National Park, the beautiful Florida Keys, Fruit and Spice Park, and Homestead Miami Speedway, all surrounded by the lush agricultural beauty of the Redland area. And when you stay here, you're also close to unique local experiences. Explore underwater paradise at John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park. Enjoy legendary tropical milkshakes at Robert Is Here Fruit Stand. Or relax just steps away at the newly renovated Helen Sands Pool, featuring lap lanes, water slides, and family splash areas. Whether you're here for fishing, adventure, or relaxation, this home is your gateway to it all. Book your unforgettable Florida escape today.